All right, this is another problem from the unit 4, and I think some students find it difficult to answer accordingly. So let's read the question. Following the introduction of apple tree to North America, a small group of the hawthorn flies started laying their egg in the apple. So you see, you got the information. Normally, uh, these flies, the hawthorn flies, they would depend on these hawthorn berries. They would take nutrition from these. They are habituated over there. I mean, this is given in the question paper, and you see, it is the named after this plant that hawthorn flies. They're depending on these things. But you see, they've started laying their egg in the apple. That means apple was not probably there. um, Somehow the apple tree was introduced by somebody. You see, this is a very natural one, because the flies would depend on this one. Why would it depend on this one? Because in that habitat these types of berries are common. But now some of them have started laying their egg in the apple. That means now apple is available. Somehow apple tree has come. Obviously, this is due to the interference of human. It might be that a human has brought these things in that area. Now the apple tree is common in that area, or somehow it is introduced, and that's the reason apple is available. And now some of the flies are migrating or moving or just going to the apple. Yeah, when you are reading these things, if you're well prepared, you are thinking that part. Okay, so diagram shows two types of fruits and the time of the year that the fruits are produced. Yeah, it's given that which fruits are available in which time. You can see it clearly. So apple, it is found from the end of July to the beginning of the September. And yeah, this is the things. And now the question is that suggests two adaptation needed for these changes in the behavior of the flies. So what is the question? The question is asking that the flies, the hawthorn flies that would depend on these, some of them are moving towards the apple. What types of adaptation should um, be in the hawthorn flies so that they can be here, they can depend on the okay, apple and so on. Yes, so answer is pretty simple, but this question has come from the term that is sympatric speciation. So in unit 4 you learned about the speciation. What is a speciation, Destina? I mean, the ways of being new species, isn't that? So there are two reasons of speciation, literally. One was allopatric, another was sympatric. We can remember, isn't that? Yes, sympatric speciation, it is simply giving you some idea. If I recall these things, hopefully you can remember, a speciation without the geographical isolation is the sympatric speciation. That means when the new species arises, although their ancestor, although the previous one were not separated geographically, how can this be happen? Hopefully you can remember, they are living the same habitat. The population are in the same habitat, but even after that some of them are becoming like this, some of them are becoming like that. Why it is happening? Yeah, it may happen due to different types of isolation. The main reason is that geographical isolation, but when it is happening through the geographical isolation, then we call them allopatric speciation. But here the two species will be arising. Okay, both of them are living in the same habitat, but two species cannot be actually formed until they are isolated. But you cannot bring geographical isolation over there. They are actually getting isolated in a sympatric way. What does it mean? It means that probably they are getting reproductively isolated. due to ecological, due to behavioral, or due to the genetics factor. It might be anything. So you can tell me, sir, why are you bringing it over there? Because this question is from that concept, you know, that okay, as you have just told me to solve this one, that's what I'm solving, but there are some okay, associated question from this part, that flies would depend on this one. Now some flies are migrating or moving towards the apple, they're taking apple as the food, and obviously over time they'll be getting different, they're having new features, they're becoming different species. So here they're not geographically isolated, but this factor, the kind of food and other things that kept them isolated, probably some flies, those move on the apple, move to the apple, they ate these types of things, they found these types of nutrition, and over time this acts as a selection pressure, and they become different a bit from the from the flies, those would depend on this hawthorn. So here we are getting different species, but not through geographical isolation. So it is an example of symbiotic isolation, is that okay? So that was the basic concept that you should have. But now come back to this specific question. Let me wrap these things so that I can get space to write the answer. Okay, so you see, the hawthorn okay, flies would depend on these, some of them are now migrating. So what are the adaptation they should have? Obviously they should have they might be attracted by the odor of the apple, they should have good sense of uh, odor. Probably the apple was a bit colorful, that's the reason some of the hawthorn flies found it okay, very observe observable, and so they migrated it over there. Not even that, you see, this types of fruits, I mean the apple was abundant in this time, which was not available okay, another time. So obviously the flies, those are depending on these, they okay would have some abilities to survive in this time, I mean this time, I mean obviously the few months ahead, they might have different atmospheric condition, different temperature, so those who will be migrating over there or not even okay, though would be depending on this one, would have these adaptabilities. You get Mr. How? Yeah, if I write the answer, it should be like this. What can you tell? You can tell that okay, they should be adapted in different temperature, or you can also write that they're adapted to survive in this different temperature. Obviously otherwise, suppose some of them are coming to this time when apple is abundant, but they cannot cope with the temperature changes, obviously they won't be able to sustain. Yes, they should have mm, the capability to I mean to reproduce at that time. So you see the few months back, so this flies should have adaptation or feature to be made at that time. Yes, or that is told first, they might be attracted by the apple odor, apple color, so they might be they have should have the ability to detect different smell or odor. Not even that. You can, yeah, our answer is okay. You can give this two or any two. You can also add, they have the ability to lay egg at that time. So there might be this a question in your mind. That's why I'm writing these, because you see, some of the hawthorn is coming to this apple. Some of the hawthorns are coming to this apple. So why? They're finding it suitable. Always remember, the other animal don't migrate or don't move or don't leave their place where it is already suitable until they found some advantageous feature, until they're attracted by some okay qualities. Okay, hopefully you got the point. Thank you.